FAIR's fiscal burden of illegal immigration cost study is making a big splash, and I've got the principal authors here right now to tell you about it. If you've read about it in the newspaper, seen it on TV, you're going to get it right here from the authors themselves. I've got Matt O'Brien, FAIR's Director of Research, and Spencer Raley, who's a research associate. They're going to give us the key takeaways. Matt, take it away.
The amount of taxes paid by illegal aliens doesn't even come close to paying for the services that they consumed.
Taxes don't match the services. They're taking more in services than they're paying in taxes.
Not even close. And we made sure to estimate the taxes that they pay a little higher than most other organizations have, just to make sure that we were accounting for everything that they might pay into the system. And still, they're billions of dollars away from paying for the services that they consume.
Good. Spencer?
Yeah, what we found is that the gross amount that illegal aliens cost taxpayers every year comes out to about $135 billion. And compared to that, we estimate they pay about $19 billion in taxes annually. So even after the taxes that they contribute, there's still a net burden of $116 billion on.
So even after you count all the taxes they pay, it's still, we're talking about, what, 10 to 1, 12 to 1 in services, right? I mean, the direct cost nets out to $115 billion.
Exactly.
Tell us about, how did you actually do the study? Because the data are hard to get, in part because I guess states don't really keep data like it would be nice to have. So how did you actually do the methodology?
Well, what we did is we went through, whenever we could, we'd go straight to government data and we would compile different congressional testimonies, state data, and if we needed, we would look at credible research organizations such as Pew Research. And we would compile what they had on medical, social justice costs, that sort of thing, and then compare that against the taxes paid by illegal aliens at both the federal and state level.
So what are the key costs when you break them down?
Well, on the state side, you're looking at about an $89 billion cost to taxpayers, compared to about $46 billion on the federal side.
A lot of that state cost is education.
Yeah, a large portion of that state cost would be education. That would also go into welfare benefits that would be split often between federal and state governments. And even in some states, border control costs at the state level.
So the taxes are mostly, that they are paying, are going to the federal, and most of the costs are going at the state level.
Absolutely.
But you did include earned income tax credit payments and other things, right?
Yes, we look at credits as well, and we deduct that from the tax they pay. Now, the vast amount of the taxes they pay are going to the federal government. In fact, only about $3 billion of the taxes they pay go to state governments, despite states covering about $90 billion of the cost.
So states are really getting socked, and yet they don't have any direct say.
Yeah.
So, Matt, so what are we estimating the average income for an illegal immigrant is? What's the study say?
The average income for an illegal alien household is about $34,000.
So, Matt, why do you think this study is so important right now?
Well, it's important for two reasons, Dan. Number one, think of all the things that we could do with that money. That's $116 billion that could be spent on tuition for American students. It could be spent on improving the healthcare system. It could be spent on infrastructure projects. Could be spent on border control, for that matter.
So why then is it so hard politically to get more traction on preventing this from happening if it's such a cost to taxpayers?
Because there's a large number of special interests that are making significant profits from having these people here, and so they're more interested in lining their pockets than they are in protecting the taxpayers. I think the other thing that's key about this is the amount of fraud that's going on is enormous. And we're now in a system where, as an illegal alien, you can have fraudulently signed up using a fake social security number with an employer, and then use an individual taxpayer ID number in order to file a tax return. And rather than paying anything, you gain a net profit from the U.S. government through tax credits.
The study's been out now for a little while. Have there been any criticisms of the study that you think were valid enough that you might go back and change something here or there?
No, the majority of the criticisms were things like, well, they don't take into account the gross domestic product. And the fact is, you can put all the numbers you want on the productivity of illegal aliens, but if they're not paying for the services they consume, they wind up being cost. The other thing
it's also not actually increasing per capita GDP either, right? No. In a sense, it's not really a good deal for the average American.
No, that's correct. The GDP numbers are based on an assumption that if illegal aliens were not here, we simply wouldn't have that productivity. Not that that would be assumed by American workers, possibly at higher wages.
Well, because we all know Americans can't do anything, right? They can't walk and chew gum. They can't do service labor work, service work, construction work. They can't do computer programming. I mean, Americans apparently aren't good enough to do any kind of job in this country, they say.
Well, Dan, it's not that Americans aren't good enough to do the jobs, it's that Americans are smart enough not to do them at some of the low wages that other people will accept, and that's the problem.
Well, I like to say there's no such thing as cheap labor, just cheap employers. You guys have gotten a lot of traction on this and a tremendous amount of national media. How do you feel about the reception of the report so far?
Well, I would say the reception of the report overall is good because Americans are tired of losing so much money to funding people who really shouldn't be here in the first place, people who have violated our immigration laws. And quite frankly, at this point, they just want the facts. And the facts are what we try to present in this report. And it seems like they're pleased to have gotten those.
And how does it feel to you to get such national coverage on your work?
Feels fantastic. This is a key issue. I believe President Trump was elected on the strength of his immigration program, and I think people are starting to realize that this is not just a feel-good thing where you allow people to come here and stay because they're seeking the American dream. They're starting to understand that a lot of these people are the reason that average Americans are no longer able to achieve the American dream.
Well, this is our research department, the Lead Dogs. There's more to come. If you want more information, go to our website, fairus.org. That's www.fairus.org. Lots of other reports and surveys. Great job, guys. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having us.